Hello, my name is LoG and welcome to part 3 of my double picking power-up. If you guys enjoy this type of instructional material, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Let's get on to the lesson. Okay, let's recap real quick what we did in part 2. That was where we were kind of spelling out those two chords, the C major with the sharp 4 and then the B major. And those figures looked like this. Really simple. That G right there is where we're going to continue with this next section. This next section is really simple. It's just two descending scales, like as normal as you can possibly imagine. First one is a literal major scale walking down from G to G. So G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. It's literally a scale. Doesn't get any more simple than that. Then from here, I'm jumping up with my ring finger to start the next descending figure, which looks like this. F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. And then we end on this E, and that's the end of the passage. Really, really simple, right? So again, walking down G major. And then we're walking down this figure, which is not 100% G major anymore because we have an F natural in there. So I kind of look at this as more of like a D minor sound, a descending D minor. But in reality, what's going on is we're spelling out kind of a chord progression that's going on during that section. I'll talk about that in just a bit. So let's just recap that one more time. Really simple, straight up G major scale from G to G. Right? Jump up with the ring finger to the F natural, G string, walk down F, E, D, C, B, right? A, G, F, E. It might feel like it should be this, because that's exactly the same as what we did right there, but that's not what we're doing, because we're spelling out a different kind of chord progression. So I look at this passage is more of like a D minor or G dominant sound, because that's pretty much what's happening right here. The chord progression for this whole thing is this. The first one, that's a G major scale, but I'm just playing the 6th chord of that key, so E minor, while that's happening. So that's the sound, but that's the chord that's happening in the track. And then after that is this. D minor, then G dominant, and then C major. So even though we are in the key of G, we're actually playing some chords that are not in the key. And I look at these chords as setup chords, right? I've done a whole lesson on the dominant setup chord, and that's exactly what's going on right here. So we're in the key of G, right? And all I'm doing is setting up a C chord, the 4 chords. So right before I hit that C, I'm playing its 5 of, which is G dominant. That's what's happening right there. Now I'm going one step farther and also playing, instead of C's 5 of, I'm playing its 2 of, which would be D minor. So instead of just a setup chord of just like G7 to C, I'm playing a setup progression of multiple chords to really set up that C. In this case, I'm playing like a 2-5 of, right? Instead of just a 5 to C, I'm playing its 2-5 to C. And that's where kind of this particular note structure is coming from, because I'm just locking into that particular switch. This is an unbelievably common progression that you'll hear tons in jazz and R&B and funk, etc. It's actually really common. I hear it a lot in like modern pop. There's I think a Demi Lovato song that's been on the radio for the past year that does literally this exact progression. I think it's called Not Sorry. So if you want to check out this progression being used in a super popular pop song, it's actually happening in the chorus of that song. So it's really, really common. So check that out if you want. Anyway, let's go over what these parts are one more time. Again, descending G major. Excuse me. Jump up with the ring finger to descend this scale. Again, F, E, D, C, B, even though you might want to play the B flat because that feels more like a major scale, that's not what we're doing. B natural, then down to the A, G, F, E, right? And then we sit on that E. Again, this is all over this. E minor, D minor, G dominant, C, right? And again, we're switching those notes to accommodate that like setup progression that's going on right there. So let me play that one more time for you. Right, super common, and then we're sitting on that note. So, yep, practice this part. The technique is exactly the same, just double picking everything. Once you get the part down, we can play over the tracks, and there are going to be, again, 2 tracks in here. We're going to play just this part of what I just played, and then we're going to play every part that we have so far, so that would sound like this. all the way through that until we hit that E, and then we start the whole thing over. etc. So that's going to be the second track. Both of these tracks are going to run from 90 to 160, so slightly faster. So let's get on to those tracks. That does it for part 3. As usual, if you enjoy this type of instructional material, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. And don't forget to leave a comment in regards to what sort of techniques or tricks that you'd like to see me create a power-up with. See you guys in part 4.